Hey guys, Mike here. How's it doing, garage? So today we got a little project going on. We're going to do a little rust repair on 6772 cab. I've done quite a bit of work to this cab already with some cab corners, rockers, some floor stuff. Like I've done a ton of stuff to it already. But today we're going to put a new cowl on it. So, you know, COVID, you know, the big C word, kind of ruined some of the aftermarket sheet metal that you could get for repairing cabs. So after a while, a couple years, we finally got a cowl section to repair the cowl on this truck. You could probably, if you was a DIY guy, you could probably go in and fix some of the rust on this cowl, but for me and for my customer, it's going to be a lot cheaper for him in the long run and a lot better outcome if we just replace the cowl, because it's got so much rust in it that we can drill out the spot welds and weld on a new cowl way faster than we can fix all the little rust spots in the cowl. So anyway, we'll go over some tips and stuff like I like to use on doing rust repair and stuff, and then we're going to try some new stuff that I've never done before. I guess we'll show you the piece here. So this is the cowl. You know, here's the rust. We've got rust here, we've got rust down here, we've got rust all up in here. It looks like the actual firewall is still good, so we won't really know until we get this cowl piece off. But you know, we got a little rust over here. We had some rust down here, but that has since been repaired, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so there's just quite a bit of this rust down in here where it's really not easy to get to. So what I like to do when I start doing these projects is, especially rust repair, is I'll take the whole panel or the part or whatever, and I'll wash it, you know, with just some simple Windex or something. Just clean it all up, get a lot of this got like mildew and stuff on it, but I'll clean the whole panel, and then I'll come in here and try and find where my spot welds are, and I'll just take a little paint pen and mark all the spot welds, so that way when you start grinding and cutting these spot welds out, you can still see where you're at, because you got the little white dots everywhere. So yeah, so first order of business on this would be to start cutting all these spot welds out and removing the panel. Another thing you always want to do is, before you even start whacking the thing apart, is get your new panel, which this is what this is here. Get your new panel, and then like visually look at your panel and make sure that the panel is the correct panel. For one, you know, you don't want to be like, you know, for a 6066 truck, put the wrong thing in the wrong box and you've got half the truck whacked apart. You know, now you're, you know, not in a good spot. So get your panel out of the box, make sure it's in good shape, not all wadded up, make sure it's the correct panel. You know, check and make sure it's got all the right features, you know, wipers, fender mounts, blah blah blah, because sometimes they won't come with, whoever you get the panel from, sometimes they won't come with these little nuts and stuff welded in for mounts, so you'll have to cut them out of the old one or make new ones or what have you. So just gotta make sure that that stuff is, you know, kosher in there, you know. So one other thing we're going to go over is the tools that I'll be using. I won't be using all of these, but these are just some of the tools I generally use for rust repair. You know, you've got a slew of different grinders with different things on it. Carbide burrs, you know, roll lock discs, cut off wheels, sanding pads, you know, little flat discs, belt sander. I know a lot of people ain't gonna have a freaking Dynaphile. These things are like $600. So you know, that's, you know, a lot of people aren't gonna have that. So Seam splitting tools. So, you know, once you get your seams, your spot welds all cut out, you just take your seam splitting tool and kind of split them. This isn't a knife. A lot of people use this thing as like a knife to shear metal. This is basically a mildly sharp kind of like prying tool. So this isn't, they might have designed this to like shear metal, but I don't like I like to actually do the job of cutting the spot welds instead of trying to use these tools to like actually shear the spot weld off. I just use them as basically fancy pry bars. But you know, and then you got a couple hammers, a couple, you know, different roll lock attachments. It's a 2-inch. Obviously it's been pretty well used, but one thing I'm going to try to do on this truck, and I've never really done this before, I have rotor broaches for drilling out spot welds, but I was watching a video the other day, the dudes at Hammer Fab were grinding spot welds out with a rounded carbide burr, and it looked like it went fairly smooth. So I'm going to try that today and see how that goes. Anybody knows that grinding with a carbide burr, you get a lot of that shrapnel everywhere, which kind of sucks, but I want to try it and see how well it works out. And yeah, because sometimes, you know, rotor broach bits get kind of expensive, so if a carbide deburring tool or carbide burring tool lasts a lot longer, than, you know. But I have had rotor broaches last for years, as long as you don't abuse them. But the first time your buddy grabs your rotor broach and he's like into some rusty crap with no lube on it, you know, you're like, hey man, thanks, you borrow $40. But anyways, and then the most important tool we got on the table, little coffee. You know, can't do nothing without the little coffee, you know. So I'm gonna get started on this, and then we'll get the cowl cut out, get the spot welds blasted out of there, and then see what we got left on the bottom here. And also, one other thing you'll probably need is some weld through primer. So when you get this panel all cut off, you go to put the other panel on. What I'll do is prime the surface, you know, clean everything out, prime the surface, transfer the spot welds into the new piece. I like to add the same amount of spot welds in roughly the same spot into the new piece that were on the old piece. So try to save the old piece as much as you can so you can use it as a template. And prime it all up, put your new piece on, mark on the old piece where all the spot welds are, come in with your little sanding pad and just lightly remove that primer where the spot weld is, and then whatever primer you don't remove is fine because it's weld through primer, so you shouldn't have an issue. I don't like to make it a habit of trying to weld through a bunch of that primer, because even though it says weld through primer, it still sucks trying to weld through that stuff. So it just, yeah, very minimal primer when you're trying to weld. But yeah, I'm gonna get going on this. Yeah. Yo, so we've got the cowl off. It's pretty good shape. There's a couple little spots which we're gonna have to fix. He's going to seal these off, I guess, from what he told me. So we're not going to repair this little rust hole here, but this piece here, obviously, the cowl drain. The reason why these get rotted out is because everything from the cowl, leaves and all that crap, washes down into here. And this is the actual drain for the cowl. This is where the water runs out. So all of them leaves and debris and everything washes down into here and then just sits here. And I mean, as you can tell, it's all on the floor now, but all that moisture just collects in here and just rots this away. It's the same thing when you open up your cowl vent in your truck, all that crap blows in it because it's all sitting right here. So there was a pretty gnarly mouse nest and everything else up in here. But a little rusty spot was this spot right here. I got a little crazy with the carbide burr and it just disappeared. So I don't know what this came from. I pulled this piece off and there's these two holes in here, but this is pretty solid. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to wire wheel it really good and then hit the whole thing with some primer after I repair that one spot. So it's pretty good shape. And then I'll probably just take a piece of aluminum or something on the bottom of that and just plug weld that one hole where that rust or whatever it was, because it's pretty thick around it. So dude, so we've got the new panel on here. It's fitting pretty good. I got everything on the back all cleaned up and primed. I've got the new panel just roughed in here. It's got some clamps holding it on. It fits in here pretty good. Slight manipulation. Got a little gap here, but I think when I get to welding, I think if I put a couple screws in it to clamp it together, I think it'll be okay. It goes down in there without too much effort, but yeah, this is pretty good. Anyway, that's where we're at. So I'm gonna keep on chugging along and get this piece, put in there where it needs to be, and start welding her up. Alright, homies, so I've got everything all done. I didn't notice that the GoPro keeps overheating and shutting off, so I don't know how much footage you got of me working on it, but the cowl's welded up 100%, ground down, cleaned up, reprimed. Cowl looks really good. It's it's on there, it's all welded on, spot welds are all cleaned up. I went through and reprimed it. Yeah, so it's should make dude really happy. A couple things. So the carbide deburr works really good. Surprising enough, it works really well. I did destroy my die grinder, but it was a cheapo Harbor Freight, so it was on its way out anyway. But the deburr the carbide burr worked really well, surprising enough. So that's a little trick to put in your toolbox. The one thing you always want to do, like I always do this. I don't think I got any of it on footage, but whenever you're replacing a panel like this, I always try and scuff up the back of it and then scuff up the piece. Like just run it with some red Scotch-Brite or something and scuff it all up before you weld it on. So that way when you got it all welded on or whatever, and you need to come up some spot and prime it or whatever, it's scuffed up so that stuff's gonna stick. You ain't gotta worry about it. So that way, you know, it's not an issue down the road. But yeah, and then I guess that's it. I guess we're gonna move on to the next project. Um, so I hope you enjoyed this little, you know, panel replacement. I guess I do this more often than I like to admit. I'm pretty okay at it. Not the best, but you know, it looks pretty good. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. You know, throw us a comment. Let us know how you feel about this. Not anything else really. Or I guess let us know how you feel. I don't care. But yeah, y'all have a good day.